Om. Namaste to all. We have been on a journey trying to understand the advice of Lakshmi. Last week, we looked at the advice given by Lakshmi to Rukmini, who was in the presence of Krishna. But later, this information was captured to us and revealed to us through a question answer between Bhishma Pitamaha and Yudhishthira. Now, this week, we are continuing the journey of Lakshmi's advice, and in today's episode we are going to see that this episode is from the Shanti Parva. Last week we saw one from the Parva that was next to that, which was the Anushasana Parva. This one is in Shanti Parva. And the objective of today's talk is to set up for next week's talk. So in today's talk, we will be looking at what are the things that attract prosperity according to Lakshmi, who is the goddess of prosperity herself. And next week, we will look at what things repel prosperity. And prosperity is something which we all want. And if you really look at how we all live, prosperity is not only for the human being and wealth. Prosperity, you can look at a cockroach that is there. It wants to live, breed, and thrive. So even that is an aspect of thriving. It's not only human-centric money making that makes all the difference. So we are going to look at the story, and I want three things to be kept in mind. Towards the end we will look at that, but just at the outset I want to give three guidelines, three buckets, if you will. The first one is any advice what Lakshmi is giving, see if it would be in reference to either modifying our guna or guiding our karma. So look at from that perspective. The second guideline I will give you is this something that you need to take responsibility for as an individual? Do you take ownership of this advice? That is the second thing. The third thing you want to look at is the social responsibility, and what kind of responsibility that we need to do to bring this into that realm. So keep those three buckets in mind, if you will, and see if we can capture the wisdom of it and apply it in our lives. So as usual, I have put a companion document or a blog which I just managed to publish today. It was not available in the morning talk. So you guys have got it hot off the press. So when you get a chance, go and look at it. A lot of the points would be there. So it's going to act like a memory jogger. And it's also easy to share that way. So the backdrop is Bhishma Pitamaha didn't die just because Arjuna shot some arrows at him, and after the war was over, another 58 days or so, 58 odd days, he was there in the bed of arrows, awaiting his death in the Uttarayana. So, the interesting aspect here is our friend Yudhishthira, who was not wavered due to the question whether it is a Dharma Yuddha or not. At the end of the Yuddha, he is so confused, totally broken in fact. He is like, I don't even know what is right and wrong. I don't know the basics. What should I do? He is completely flabbergasted. And he is not even in the mood to get the throne. He is ready to give it to one of his brothers, like say Bhima, and he is ready to go out. He says like, I don't want anything. The biggest burden on his chest is the death of his brother Karna and the fact that Kunti didn't tell him. And then Narada Maharishi comes and says, hey, this is not your fault, and Karna died because of his own doing or wrongdoing. So don't worry about it, just chillax. He said like, okay, even if that be the case, there are so many doubts that are oppressing my mind. What should I do? Krishna thought, you know what, small doubt, 1 or 2 doubt for Arjuna, that itself took 700 slokas, and still that fellow didn't even listen to me. He got confused when his son died and things like that. So he thought, for this kind of project, we need a good acharya. He said, you know what, I will take you to Bhishma Pitamaha and you ask him the questions. Yudhishthira said, no, he will curse me because I am the reason for all this death. So Krishna assured him, don't worry, and he took him there. And then this fellow was still hiding behind Krishna only because of his guilt that he perceived that he was the sole reason why people died. See, that is the greatness of Yudhishthira, right? To think in that perspective. But Bhishma Pitamaha took so much time to educate him on the different aspects of Dharma. What is Samanya Dharma? What is Vishesha Dharma? What is Abad Dharma? What is Kshatriya Dharma? What is Brahmana Dharma? What is Grahastha? He told him so many aspects. And so many questions came, and as questions got answered, more questions came, and it went till the fact that finally he said like, I have no more questions. Then he started saying like, okay, tell me more about Bhagavan and things like that. Even that also we have Vishnu Sahasranamam as a part of it, right? So the Anushasana Parva and the preceding Shanti Parva put together comprise about 55 to 60% of the entire sloka content, roughly 55% of this entire sloka in entire Mahabharata. That many slokas are there, right? So the wisdom that is locked in that is what we are trying to tap. So the question right now in Yudhishthira's mind is, okay, I follow Dharma, right? A lot of people have these questions, right? Like, hey, good people are suffering, bad people not suffering, why this, why that, all those confusions we see in the world. So the question in the plaguing the mind of Yudhishthira was, if I want to predict in future if somebody will be prosperous or not, how can I do that? Are there any signs and symptoms? Like somebody has COVID, they have some, hey, you know what, he has high fever, he has a running nose, he has chest pain, he has this and that. So you got some symptoms. So you can see like, okay, if you have these symptoms, you are going to end up there. Right? So that is the question that is in the mind of our dear friend Yudhishthira. So Bhishma Pitamaha had one style. Sometimes people, you ask them a question, they will tell you their opinion immediately. But great Mahatmas never tell that. You know what they say? They point out another Acharya who said that, hey, this is what happened. So you ask Adi Shankara, you will say, like, this is my Guru Gaudapada, he did this. You ask Ramanujacharya, he says, my Guru told me this. So they are not kicking the ball or cooking up a story. What they are doing is they are relying on the logic and the wisdom and the message they have received from their acharyas, so they are putting that in high pedestal. So keep that point in mind and don't forget about it, that when you are relying on another Acharya or Mahatma for a wisdom, it gives more credibility to your statement. So what am I doing? I am following only Bhishma Pitama. Not in pride, but in all humility, because instead what these New Age Babas are doing, they take the same story, same message, line by line, but they don't tell you where they stole this. That is a grave, a Mahapapa. So here, the point what Bhishma is saying is, long ago there was an incident I came to know. And for Bhishma Pitamaha, one of another great quality he had was, anything that was happening in space and time, he had a big network of friends as sages and devatas and Narada Maharishi, and everybody used to come and tell him everything. For instance, the secret that Karna was Kunti's son was already known to Bhishma even before the war started. So in his desperate, limited wisdom, what he tried was to keep Karna out of the war. So when he fell on the day 10, Karna comes to visit him to get his Ashirwad. That time he says, come on, Kunti's son, come on. He says, like, Karna says, like, what? You also know? Everybody seems to know. So the thing is that Bhishma had a wonderful network. So you don't have another character or personality. Just in the words of Krishna, never in the history of this prapancha again we will find another Bhishma Pitamaha. Such is the greatness of that Mahanubhava. So he said, he was quoting an old incident. Again, probably my suspicion is on Narada, because Narada is involved in this story, just as a passing mention. So Narada Maharishi was in the banks of river Ganga, and he was doing some Sandhyavandanam or something like that. And just around the same time, our friend Indra also landed up there, and he also started doing his morning ablutions and rituals. So this was in the Brahma Muhurta. Shortly thereafter, the crack of dawn, the sun started rising. At that time, in the opposite direction, there was another effulgent sun-like object. So they were confused, like, what is this, like two suns coming from opposite direction, how is that possible? So they looked at that object that was coming closer to them, was none other than Mahalakshmi, Sri, surrounded by so many beautiful apsaras. And obviously Mahalakshmi herself is the epitome of beauty. And she came straight to Indra. Now Indra is like, who are you? Of course he knew, but he just wanted to politely confirm who are you and where she was headed and what's the purpose of her visit. So here is something very, very deep that we need to ponder. We should not look at it in like a story and just, okay, I got this story. And so if we make the blunder that this is a story, gone, we lose the meaning of it. If we lose the purpose of this, why we are doing let me put it this way. There are two mistakes we can do. First mistake is to only follow the story and miss the entire wisdom. But the bigger mistake we can do is, hey, this is only mythology. And we cast aside the entire advice that is given. So we should not do those two mistakes. But anyway, we won't. So with that hope, we come back to what Sri is saying. So first she is introducing herself. She is introducing herself as, I am Sri. Now when you say Sri, what does that mean? Immediately say, okay, she is Lakshmi. We have all names of Lakshmi. We think, okay, she is Padmaja and things like that. But what really happens is, Sri gives two things. She says, I am not only the object that is being desired by all living things, but also all non-living things. All things in this universe want to have a connection with Sri. Because it is only through this sambandha you get something auspicious. And then she gives a big list of her names, which makes it even more interesting, because there are so many names for Lakshmi, right? She chooses a list of names that are not, those are adjectives. Those are not just nouns. They are talking about some qualities. She says, Aham Lakshmi, Aham Bhutir, Sirchaham Balasudana, Aham Shraddha cha Medha cha, Sannidhir Vijiti Sthiti, Aham Dhritir, Aham Siddhir, Aham Tvit Evacha, Aham Swaha Sada Chaiva Samstutir Niyati Kriti. Let's break that down. Let's slow that down, right? Because we want to digest that. It's very, very important why she is telling that. She says, okay, I am Lakshmi. I am Bhuti. I am Sri. Okay, cool. You are Sri. But then she uses some adjectives like, I am Shraddha. Shraddha means what? Faith. Then she says, I am Medha. Medha is intelligence, knowledge, right? I am Sannidhi. That is basically I am influence. I am Vijiti. That is victory. I am Sthiti. Basically she is saying I am immutable, Prakriti, right? She is the summum bonum or the essence of Prakriti on which everything is, all this drama is being played out. So she represents the lower half of Paramatma himself. So, and then she says, I am Dhruti, patience. I am Siddhi, all the achievements. Again, we earlier said Bhuti. Basically, Bhuti means prosperity. She also says, I am Swaha, Swada, Samstuti. Samstuti is basically reverence. You're like holding it in respect, right? She says, I am Niyati. That means like what we call as our Vidhi, right? Or fate. And she says, I am Kriti, memory. So I want you to ponder. Again, I gave a big list. So if you go to the article, you will find that list also. So you don't have to worry about notes. You can always look at that article and you can get back that. But what is the point here? The point is, Lakshmi is talking all these qualities. So wherever there is a display of Shraddha, Meda, Sannidhi, Victory, Vijiti, Dhruti, Sthiti, Sambudhi, Niyati, Kriti, you find the fingerprint of Mahalakshmi. So whenever you and I develop those qualities, we can say that, hey, we have got the anugraha of Mahalakshmi. And whenever we excel in it, we can definitely conclude that it is not just our Purushartha, it is Mahalakshmi's grace that is expressing through us. So last week we saw in the talk that where all Lakshmi resides. But today's focus is, how do we attract that Lakshmi to come to us? Right? She also says that she resides in flags, in wherever there is a dharmic government, in homes, settlements, wherever there is an expression of humanity, affluence, you can say. Right? And in battlefield, if you look, there are some guys who are like charging from front. They don't care about their life. They are only thirsting for victory. Like our Jawans. Do you think there is going to be grace of Vijaya Lakshmi there? Absolutely. Because Lakshmi, what mistake we make is one big mistake we make. We think only money is Lakshmi. Lakshmi is not just money. Lakshmi's grace is the entire essence of anything that grows, thrives, prospers, everywhere. So if you go to a forest and find all life forms in full bloom, you have to get on your knees and thank Mahalakshmi. Because everything what you see is her grace. And then people who are deeply rooted and in following dharma, in upholding dharma, in protecting dharma, you can find her. She says, wherever you see an expression of intelligence, now obviously for good purposes, right? Not for looting and scheming kind of thing. People who have firm faith in Brahman or Bhagavan, the ones who are immersed in Satya, those are expressions or places where Lakshmi can be found. Now she says, hey, you know what? By the way, Indra, earlier for the longest period I was living with the Danavas for yugas. But now I find that there is an incongruence with their lifestyle and dharma. So I am going to abandon them. I have already abandoned them and I am coming to you. So here, first question is, if you were in Indra's shoes, what will you ask? Hey, why did you choose to be with the Danavas and why did you abandon them and come to me? Because today if you had abandoned them, tomorrow you will abandon me too. So I want to know why you were there and why you left them. So in our focus today, we are going to focus on why she chose to be with the Danavas. Now, for some people, who are Danavas is a big question, right? So, Kashyapa Prajapati had many wives. Through his wife Aditi came all the Adityas, Indra, Surya and all those. Then he had another wife called Diti. Through her came all the Daityas. Then through another wife called Danu came all the Dhanavas. Now you have this, typically what do we say? We call all the Adityas as Suras, Devas, and all Daityas and Dhanavas as Asuras. And the way we caricature them is like bad people, barbaric people, negative people. That's not so. If you look at the Daityas, you have the best of the best. Bhagavan says, amongst the Daityas that he is Prahalada. You look at his grandson Bali Chakravarti. Shukracharya says, hey, don't give dana to this little boy. He is Mahavishnu himself. He says, that's great. What more great punya I can get by giving it to Mahavishnu himself? So let me do that. So at one point in time, the Dhanavas were more prosperous than even the Devas. Why? Remember the 3 questions or pointers I told in the beginning? I am reminding you. We are going to launch into a big list of advice from Lakshmi. So see if you can look and understand from the perspective of Guna and Karma transformation. If it is something related with an individual responsibility, or if it is something to do with a social responsibility. Look at those aspects and you can go from there. So the idea here is Sri took time to explain the long list of advice she had for Indra that will attract prosperity. If you and I were to copy that, what do you think will happen? We will also attract prosperity. And in next week, she is going to give a long list of what you should not do because she abandoned the Dhanavas just like that. So what should we do? Not do those lists. So the first thing what Lakshmi says to attract prosperity, I'm going to give, even in the article, I didn't want to violate Vyasa Bhagavan's and Bhishmacharya's order of things. So I just captured their English essence and then did my analysis towards the end because there is nothing to add to that. There is nothing to add more to that advice. Like if I say, I don't know where I am going, you come, I ask you directions, you say go straight and go left and then go right. Now if I am going to add more description, what can I say? Okay, you make a left at this, you will see this particular building or you will see this particular landmark, and then you make a right at this particular place, which is the name of the street or whatever. That's all I can say. Nothing more I can add, right? Same way, all the advice is already from Lakshmi, so there is nothing more to add except that we have to open our mind and digest this information. The first thing what she says is Dhanavas were so focused on doing their swadharma. Whatever dharma that they were assigned, that is what they were focused on. So if you translate it to our world, so there is no Varna Veda for attracting prosperity. There is no Jati Veda. There is no Ashrama Veda. As long as you are going to follow your Swadharma, you will attract. But what happens is when we don't do our swadharma, we give it up and then we want to follow somebody else's dharma. That is where we drop the ball. The second point she says is the Danavas never lost their patience. And an interesting sentence she says, they always took pleasure in going the path that led to Swarga. What is the path that leads you to Swarga? The one that accumulates punya. What accumulates punya? We have to ask this question. It is not there. We have to ask the question, then only we will get the answer. So what gets you punya? When your actions or your swadharma based actions are aligned with dharma, right? Your karma is aligned with your dharma. Okay. Then she says, amongst the Danavas also, they were all excellent in their understanding of Shastras. They were excellent in their in following the Vedas, in understanding the Vedas, following the Vedic rituals. They always emphasized on the worship of the Pitrus, Devas, their Gurus, the elders, Atithis. So basically what happened was their knowledge was not, okay, I know all the Vedic knowledge. No. They were expressed in reverence to all these great entities. We already saw in our Kali Yuga talk, right, that Dharma is referred as a bull. And we saw that it is standing on 4 different legs, like Shaucha, Tapasya, Satya and things like that. So Shaucha is cleanliness. And if you look at the amount of garbage we are throwing all over India, and then immediately you say, look how Singapore is always clean. But when you come here, you are like throwing garbage everywhere. So what happens? That Shaucha quality has gone away from us in India a lot. So the Danavas were used to having clean homes, clean cities. Their women were focused on abiding in Dharma. Everywhere they had yagas and yajnas. I already told you they were like very respectful to the elders. But again, a hint is given by Lakshmi that they kept their desires completely under their control and always upheld Satya. Their focus was always in whatever that gave them more faith in Brahman or the paths that led to Brahman. And not only that, they had a firm grip and control over their anger, always were generous, charitable, never harbored hate. Remember, sometime back we were talking about, last year we spoke about forgiveness. So they never had qualities like greed, envy, anger, comparison. Why this fellow is making more, I am making less, why they are always lucky, why I am not. No. Nothing like that. And the vulnerable people, the people who are dependent on them, like say servants, or the people who are vulnerable, like usually the women folk, right? In society, they are vulnerable. It's not a negative, condescending statement like some people would wrongly ascribe. um, or people who are giving advice, you give respect to them and protect them. And all these qualities, they also looked at from the perspective, like, again, look, when we have these kind of attitude that I am not having desires, I am not having anger, no envy, no judge. So what you are doing is, you are only contented with doing your swadharma. And you are not chasing after somebody's. Like, I was listening to one lady today. She is running a free old age home in somewhere in in Chennai area. Okay. And I was watching what she was saying, and with a lot of interest. And then she said, even in 1980s, late 80s and 90s, when she was working as a some bank official to that capacity, what happened was, she found that the parents would get, the father would probably get some measly pension. They would collect the money, and at the entrance, their children would take away that money and they will go. This is like 30 years ago. Now, not to talk about what is happening now. Why am I saying that? That is not being contented with what you have, that even you can go and do such a heinous thing against your own parents. Can you imagine that? So, what Lakshmi ji is saying is, you don't look at other people's success or affluence or prosperity and say like, what about that person? What about me? Why not me? The minute you are asking that, you are not going to attract Lakshmi, even if it is coming to you on your way. Then there is another doubt somebody asked today morning. Hey, what about those people who are already rich? They are doing all bad things. Go back to the question which Yudhishthira posed in the beginning. What are the indicators that in future I will have prosperity or not? Can I predict using some of the things that are happening today? That is the question. So I may be wealthy today, but if my attitude is bad, in future things are not going to be that rosy for me. I may be today not that wealthy, but in future I can attract prosperity if I followed Lakshmi's advice. You see what I am saying? So that is the power of this simple message what Lakshmi gave to Indra. Very powerful, yet very, very simple. Then she said, people who are these folks, Danavas, we are again talking about Danavas, who were at one time more prosperous than even the Devas, but eventually they fell off the cliff. We are only focusing on why they were more prosperous today. So they are not only good in their virtues, but they are also good in handling they are like not Kanjus Maharaj, but they are like choosy in their expenses. They are not busy flaunting, like, hey, I will go get 2 EMI for the money I don't have to impress somebody which I don't care about. And they don't care about me either. That is the society today. And that is the reason why prosperity will run away from them. So she says, Danavas were not like this. And also, we also saw that they always had a dharmic conduct, and they were always kind and compassionate. They always demonstrated grace, and their lifestyle was very simple, not complicated people, like simple, they keep it simple, right? That kind of concept. Because it is simple means what? It is duplicatable and it is not having any complexities. Complexity means it will get knotted and then you will have to fix it. So you don't have to do any of those things if you were to just follow Lakshmi's advice. Then she gives another clue. Remember, I gave in the beginning a reminder in case you have forgotten. Keep putting in your mental bucket, hey, these things were guna karma transformation related. These things are talking about individual responsibility. These things are talking about our responsibility to the society. Right? So here they also had complete control over desire. She keeps saying this. Couple of things she keeps almost yeah, I got that. But she keeps saying that again and again that, hey, they were controlling their kama. They were controlling their krodha. Why is she telling that pretty much every line? Because it is that important. And also, she talks about having that ecosystem going, like people who are dependent on you, people who are supporting you, your team. You need to take care of them. If you don't take care of your team, let's say for example, your home is a team, right? A husband, wife, children, parents, they are all your team. Now, if you are pulling together strongly as a team, what is going to happen? You are going to be successful. If you are saying, no, everything for me only, they have to just support me as subordinates, what will happen? There will be dissonance and there will be a discord that is going to shear the different entities part of the team. So, if you want to be a team player, you have to earn the loyalty. And how do you earn the loyalty? Maybe it is compensation, maybe it is love, it is respect. Right? You don't do nothing to them and expect 100% loyalty from them. Is that possible? So Yudhishthira also talks about this in Yaksha Prashna. They were shy people. What do you mean shy people? They were shy to violate dharma. Right? That's very important. Are we ashamed of ourselves? I'm not talking about wearing clothes or not doing a crime when somebody is watching. Not like that. Are we afraid of our conscience? Or is conscience is not even a factor in our life? Then are we ready to put hard work, our tapasya, on what we need to do? And then she gives more interesting ideas. She says are you doing like in US today was Amavasa. Amavasya, then what happens is, are you taking time on sacred days to do your due diligence? Even if you are not having the adhikara to worship the Pitrus, are you having a attitude of gratitude towards them? That is the question we need to ask. Are you having the attitude of gratitude towards the devas, to the Pitrus? Because everything is not happening because of you. You didn't create your own genes, did you? It was given to you by all your thousands of years of ancestors. Are you even thankful for that? You may be the most handsome person or the beautiful person. You may be the most intelligent person, but you think everything came because of you doing everything. That platform was given to you. So, are you having that attitude of gratitude? That is the big question we need to ask. And then what happens? Are you celebrating these events? Hey, Diwali is there, Shankranti is there. Are you taking time to celebrate these events? Are you now she is saying that if you can afford, go wear some nice clothes and things like that. Nobody is saying that if you don't have money, borrow from other places and do that. All she is saying is whatever you wear it clean. Even if it is torn clothes, wear it clean. I was reading upon Swami Chinmayananda a long time back, and he was known to wear some not only clean clothes, he would also wear clothes that are pressed neatly. He is a sannyasi. Why should he do that? But he would still do that because you set the standard, because prosperity is not only wealth, right? So you always do the right thing irrespective of your ashrama dharma or varna dharma, right? So you also wear nice clothes, nice decoration, celebrate the festivals, things like that. And you also always have a very pleasant demeanor. You also follow all the, if you are doing some upavasas, follow that. If you are following some like tapasya or sadhana, do that. The Danavas used to sing Vedas. Now you and I may not be initiated in Vedas in our day and time, so you can just chant the name of Bhagavan. You say Ram Ram Ram, Om Om Om, Hare Krishna Hare Krishna, whatever, or maybe Om Namah Shivaya, whatever that you are already familiar with, follow that path. But the idea here is, are you connected to that higher power? Then prosperity will come to you. Then this one, next one is going to be very controversial, I will tell you right now. The Danavas always woke up before dawn, or you should say at dawn, or rather in Brahma Muhurta, you can say. Right? And they also respected the time they went to bed. They didn't go to bed like, hey, the sun is about to come up. Oh, clubhouse is just another club is closing now. They didn't do those kind of crazy things. There is an interesting mention of this. I thought about it and I found it is probably a good suggestion, but depends on how much we can digest. She says, don't take at night. The Danavas did not take at night curds or curd related products. That could be because curd causes coolness, right? So probably she might have given that suggestion. And the second thing is, they didn't take pounded grains, that is like flour, right? Which basically goes to the idea that pounded grains or flour is going to have a higher glycemic index. So obviously it's going to spike it's going to lead to metabolic syndrome, right? I thought that was amusing to me, that she would include a small health tip in this big list. Then, see, there is a tradition we have in many parts of India. First thing people wake up, what they do, they tell a sloka. Their eyes are not even open. They say, Karagre vasate Lakshmi, Karamadye Saraswati, Karamule tu Govinda, Prabhade Karadarshanam. They, rub their palm and then they see the hand. The idea is, what you do is you are focusing first on the blessings of Mahalakshmi, and you are also visualizing Saraswati, and you are also focusing on Shriman Narayana. Now here is something which we now even if you are forgetting to wake up and do that, just think hari hari hari, simply done. Basic idea is, are you starting your day with Bhagavad Chintana? That is the question. Okay, and then the Danavas used to, now again I am talking about what the Danavas did. Now, if you are saying that, hey, I am not doing these things, then you have to understand that you are not in the same league as even Danavas. You and I are one level below than the Danavas of that day, right? Because our understanding of Danavas is some sort of caricature, like two horns with two teeth coming, and they are like laughing like a villain, ha ha ha, and doing all bad things. But that's not who they were all along. So there is a guna karma transformation happening in them that led to a downward path. They would have excellent sense control, and they would begin the day by chanting Vedas, and they would honor the Brahmanas with suitable danas and dakshinas. Now here, we may not know the Vedas. That is fine. Just say Bhagavan Nama. Like I told you, say Hari Hari Hari, say Hara Hara Hara. Whatever that Bhagavan Nama is, that is your Ishta Devata, hold on to that. Everything else will come running to you. And here is the bombshell tree she threw at us. See, Lakshmi throws a couple of bombs at us, but this probably is the biggest one. And this is going to disrupt us a big time. See, we talk about A to Z things, right? We talk about politics, we talk about the family, we talk about our health, we talk about this, that, blah, 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 blah. The Danavas, when they were attracting Lakshmi at that time, all their conversations and topics will be centered only on Dharma. Always Dharma Chintana only. Nothing else they will talk. They will say like, hey, you know what? Maybe we should give $100 for this. No. We should give $1,000 for this charitable cause, for this dana. We should do that. So their conversation is always centered around only one thing, that is about Dharma. And they were always about giving dana, not about what we can get. You know, if you talk about Pakistan, they are never like, what can I contribute to the world? No. How much money will you give me? Right? So, that is the interesting question. And then they went to bed on time and they didn't sleep through the day. Now, remember I told there are some social responsibilities. From here on, she gives a bunch of them. One of them is like, she says like, if there is a person who is troubled, like they are helpless and maybe they are weak or aged or, sick, someone who needs some protection or something like that, the Danavas would go out of their way to go and share their riches and they always show compassion, giving. If you look at our society, there are so many distressed and downtrodden. Do we even bother to even look at them? That seems to be the difference between attracting and repelling Lakshmi. Are we taking care of the underprivileged? That also contributes to our Chitta Shuddhi too. They never violated Dharma. I am talking about the Danavas. Before Lakshmi abandoned them, they were always kind and nice to each other, always having a buzz of enthusiasm. Any task they want to do, they always applied and made sure that it happened. Like halfway through, they don't throw in the project and say, it's too difficult, I'm not going to do this. If it is difficult, they would still make sure that they are committed to a good cause, to their dharma, they will do that. Again, multiple times she keeps reiterating that they always respected the elders, respected the pitrus, respected the atithis, and they always gave them first before they took what is something they can take. In fact, many of these advice is also part of Bhagavad Gita. In fact, if you don't offer the devatas and you just eat everything yourself, you are called as a thief in Gita. And here, the same thing Lakshmi ji says, that they were never found without sharing whatever they got. They were not about hanky-panky stuff, like looking at somebody else's spouse, things like that. And always they showed kindness not only to human beings but to every living being, just like they showed it to their own kind. They also had a tendency. They were kind of like, just like you say, like some people, they done something great, like Yudhishthira is known for his dharma chintana, Arjuna is known for his archery. So the Danavas were all reputed for, they were like known for their intellect, simplicity, humility, all the noble qualities, like for upholding satya, doing dana, doing the dharma, doing anything and everything, having pleasant, soft voice and things like that. So all the qualities what are desirable were with Danavas. And then they were never sleepy or drowsy, They were not like into procrastination. Okay, I'll do that tomorrow. The tomorrow never dies, right? That's what we know from James Bond movie. So tomorrow never dies. So we never finish the project. So they were free from irritation, envy, greed, They were free from discontent and so on and so forth. Now, here is where we will pause the story, because from here on, Lakshmi is going to tell why she chose to leave them, because they lost all their qualities. And we will look at that in next week. But here, to make a summary, what we are going to do, let's understand the three major buckets we were analyzing. The first one is Lakshmi's advice aims at having a guna karma change in us. When our guna and karma change, we either attract or repel Lakshmi, prosperity. Right? So, how do we... Prosperity in one sense you can see is merely a karma phala. Is my karma following dharma or not? If yes, then I am going to attract more prosperity. If my karma is not following dharma, then eventually I may not attract prosperity. Remember, go back to the original first question what Yudhishthira asked. What are the indicators which I can use to predict future prosperity or the lack thereof? That is the question we are analyzing here. It's more like a trend analysis, like what we do in modern science, right? Like trend analysis. So, here the trend is the Danavas had all the wonderful qualities that they even outshone Indra himself. That's why she was residing with them for the longest period of time. Then she came to Indra because he was, after the Danavas have dropped in the ratings, Indra was the next in that list. So she came to Indra. So the essence of what Lakshmi is saying is, transform your gunas and karmas, align yourself with dharma, and these gunas are always going to be changing, right? Whether whichever direction, and the direction is going to determine the prosperity, the quantum of prosperity. Then there is another interesting thing. What happens? We are talking about the individual's responsibilities. Hey, you be clean, you speak satya, you control anger, you don't have jealousy or hate, you don't. So there is a big list. She gives a catalog of all these adjectives that we should be emulating. And what she is saying is, it all starts. If I want to start today, I don't care what is my current situation. I may be rich, I may be poor, I may be this, I may be that. What really happens is, I start with my Swadharma. Knowingly, unknowingly, I say that no, I am going to stick to my Swadharma with the right attitude, with the proper mindset. And when I do my Swadharma, what is going to happen? Good karma phala is going to come. Punya is going to come. Because it is aligned with dharma, right? But more importantly, what is going to happen? I continuously keep doing my Swadharma over a period of time. It is going to start moving my guna composition. My guna is going to become more and more sattvic. I am going to become less and less rajasic and even lesser of tamasic. Now what happened? My guna has changed. Because I am more sattvic, automatically I am going to be following dharma by my default nature. A tamasic guy is there. How difficult for that person will it be to follow his own swadharma? Very difficult. A rajasic character is there. Mind is jumping from one to the other, to the other, to the other. Even if it lands on swadharma, it's not going to land long enough because it has already jumped to another thing. But if you are a sattvic person, like that is what happens by doing swadharma. We start changing the guna itself. When gunas have changed, our karma is always going to be aligned with swadharma. Obviously, we are going to attract more prosperity. So, the idea of doing taking individual responsibility, that is where it comes. And then the interesting aspect on the social side, what Lakshmi ji is saying is, to whom much is given, much is expected, right? So you are a very big person who has attracted all sorts of Lakshmi, Kataksha. What should you and I be doing? Sharing it with the ones who are not privileged. If you say that I am going to hoard it, few weeks ago, Sridharacharya ji came and quoted this Subhashita. I am going to quote it for you. Dhanam bhogo nasha tisro gatayo bhavanti vitasya yo na dadati na bhunkte tasya tritiya gatir bhavati. Basically what it says is there are only three options for what happens to wealth. First option is you give dhanam to right people. Now, dhanam is not going and giving to some beggar on the street and say, okay, I gave dhanam. That is not dhanam. Dhanam, the most important thing is to understand the patra and give it in the right time and right place. So, you do dhanam. That is the first use, best use. Why? Because that way you are upholding dharma. Right? You are upholding dharma. That is the first. Second thing, you are going to enjoy. Now, what is that? Here you are not upholding dharma. You are just taking care of your own kama, desire. Because you already have the artha to support it. So, the second option is at least you take care of your own desire. Right? Now, third option is, if you don't do these two, first option you give it away, second option you enjoy, third option, only one option is there. Whatever wealth or prosperity you are thinking is with you will get destroyed. Everything is like that. Think about like this. You are a young person. You are a youth icon. So what happens? You enjoy the youth. Or you do something good, productive for others. You do neither. Morning to evening you are just sitting in one corner. Suddenly one day you wake up and then you will find yourself like wearing a big dadi and you are going from one end of the country to the other end of the country and you are still in diapers. So, what Lakshmi is saying is, for our easy understanding and translation, keep the eye on three things. Go back to that list. I have already put that article in the top. If you want, you can look at it. Go back to the list of advices she is giving with this threefold focus. What is she saying? Is she saying to bring a guna karma transformation? For example, controlling your senses, controlling desires, controlling anger, being contented. What are they? They are talking about guna karma transformation. Correct? Then she is talking about individual responsibility. Like individual responsibility is what? Taking care of your needs, waking up early, eating on time, all those things she is talking about is individual responsibility. You have to celebrate sacred days, you have to take care of all those things. Those are all individual responsibilities. Somebody is not going to come and chase you, hey, do this, do this. Then the last thing she is saying is there is a societal responsibility and responsibility for others. That means, are you sharing your prosperity with others? Imagine you are the wealthiest person in the world. You are like the first trillionaire in the world. And the rest of the world, everybody in the world, right? Everybody in the world is not even worth $100. Will you be in that place happy? Or you think like this, hey, you are on this island, everybody is a multimillionaire. Give or take some little bit, everybody is more or less same, everybody is affluent, everybody is wealthy, everybody is prosperous. How will that be? So, are you sharing? Are you looking beyond? Because the last point I want to make, are you thinking that prosperity is only wealth even now after this talk, after Bhishma's advice, after Lakshmi's advice? Are you still making the mistake? Or have you woken up and understood that it is all these adjectives that make us and take us to prosperity? And wealth and riches is just one byproduct. Of all the riches, only one of the riches is money. hope that point is very clear by now. And if we got across that point, I think the time is worth well spent. So, if we understand that the doorway or the pathway, what we are standing, that all this great spiritual wealth that is awaiting us, or are we thinking that this is only like few more chiller that we can collect and put it in our pocket, which is having a big hole? No matter how much money you put in that, it will keep falling down that hole. So I pray to Goddess Mahalakshmi to make all of us realize that all this is her grace. All this grace, whatever aspect we are seeing in our life, in people's others' lives, it's all her grace. And that grace, we have to recognize at all times. And even to recognize that grace, we need her grace. Isn't it ironical? Even to recognize that we are being graced by Goddess Mahalakshmi, we need her grace. So, may I make a collective submission on all our behalf that may her benevolence and kindness always be on us, that we will always be rooted in Dharma. And just like she said, when we are rooted in Dharma, we will attract all prosperity. And may each one of you be exceedingly abundantly blessed by Goddess Mahalakshmi. Jai Sri Ram, Jai Sri Krishna, Har Har Mahadev.